Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Stephen Reep's Adventure of Truth podcast. I am your host, Stephen Reep, and they say you should never judge a book by its cover. But this cover is a work of art, so I think we'll make an exception. Today we have you covered on all the meaning and symbolism behind this beautiful cover. So let's take an adventure. All right. So first, I'd like to thank one of my former students, Allison Alianek. She is the artist of this cover. It is truly a masterpiece, and you can follow her Instagram at @alianek_art. She also has an Etsy linked on the Instagram where you can buy a lot of her art. Really cool stuff. Highly recommend checking it out. So, I guess that gets me to the story of how this cover came to be. When I decided I was going to publish this book on KDP, part of the job was to design the cover. Now, I have no idea in graphic design or art or anything like that. I had a few concepts in my head. I actually reached out to a few graphic designers. Apparently, COVID makes things very difficult and very busy for graphic designers. So it was hard to find someone that could do it in the range and do the ideas that I had. So I decided, like a lot of things, to do it myself. I learned Photoshop. I was trying to learn Photoshop. I wouldn't say I was that great at it. And I had a concept in my head. I was working with it, but there was a lot of copyright issues and all that stuff. So I designed a medium looking cover, basically just a picture with text on it of a sailboat. And I was going to go with that. Now, about 3 days before I had to turn it into KDP, the Kindle Direct Publishing, I got a new follow on Instagram. And it was my student, Allison. But it wasn't her normal account, it was her art account. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know she painted. I had her, she was a great student, kind of a quiet student. So I didn't really know how great of an artist she was. And I was just flabbergasted of how her art was just incredible. And so I decided to message her. And I was like, oh man, that would have been so cool if you could have painted the cover of my book. I wish I knew you were such a good artist. And, just as a compliment. And her reply surprised me. She said, oh, I was thinking the same thing and I could do it. And I said, well, I have to turn it in Monday. It was Friday. She goes, oh, no problem. I could rip it out in a day. And I was like, well, I want it to be good. I was like kind of nervous about a painting that would come out in a day. And I said, all right. And she said, oh, you don't have to use it if you don't like it. She was really great about it. I said, all right. And, worst comes to worst, we could use it for promotion or whatever. Later, probably 24 hours later, she comes up with this. So she paints this beautiful work of art. Look, there's a reflection of the rest of my room and my camera. And she comes up with this beautiful work of art that she actually framed for me. And we put it on the cover of the book, and it looks incredible. So I'm very thankful. I can't thank you enough, Allison, for how fast you did this, how beautiful you made the cover. I think it really puts a finishing touch on the book, and I've gotten so many compliments about it. So let's talk about what the cover symbolizes. So it really tells the story of the book. As you can see here, there's the dark stormy clouds that Allison so masterfully painted. There's kind of the dark shadows here. There's a really dark water. It looks like maybe a storm's coming in. And you can see the hero is going away from that. Now that's just the front cover. So he's going away from the darkness to the light. The front cover is still pretty dark. There is a hint of hope, a hint of light in it. It's also, we'll talk about this guy here, blocked off by a dragon. We'll talk a lot about that. But you can see here towards the back, it's a totally different scene. Same painting, it goes all the way through, but this painting is joyful and happy, bright and vibrant, even has a lighthouse here. It has no clouds in the sky, the sun is rising, and that's more or less the story of the book. Going from dark, brainwashed, and hopelessness to enlightenment, to finding God, to finding purpose. That is what this book is about. It's about becoming a hero from the darkest points. Now, it has a lot of other elements in it. There's four in particular that I would like to talk about. So first is the sailboat. Of course, the hero Michael Rayner escapes in a sailboat. That is what he spends a lot of the story on. He borrows the sailboat from Anna Maria / Sarah and is quested to go find the free land of Atlantis. So this is her depiction of the sailboat, and you can see here, let's see here, there it is. If it focuses, hopefully it's focusing. There is a Cairo on the sail. Now that is a symbol of Atlantis. That is an ancient symbol of Christianity. I have it tattooed on my back, and it's funny, a lot of people are like, oh, that's really cool. You incorporated your tattoo into the sailboat. It goes back a little further than my tattoo. And actually, it is explained in the book why that is a symbol with Constantine, with ancient Christianity. Constantine was the first Christian emperor, and he gave freedom to everyone, not just when he became a Christian, not just making everyone Christian and making it illegal to persecute Christians when he became a Christian, but he gave freedom of religion. So this book is about freedom. It's about that example. So I thought it would be cool to incorporate the Cairo in the book and have it on the sail as a marker of the free land of Atlantis. Now, of course, we got this guy here. A lot of people didn't notice him, and that's cool. That's kind of the point. He's supposed to be subtle, but once you see him, it's pretty hard not to see him. So there's a dragon. There's a shadow of the dragon. So traditionally, dragons symbolize chaos. They symbolize the shadow, the dark side of us. And this book has a ton of symbolism. It has a lot of universal symbolism, what Carl Jung calls archetypes. The dragon is such a great example of this. The cool thing about dragons is that they've been in every culture. There's the Aztec dragon, there's the Asian dragon, there's the English dragon that St. George kills, there's the African dragon, I think the Native Americans even had dragons. I know the Aborigines had dragons. All over the world, all these cultures that were not connected had dragons. The craziest thing is dragons never existed. They've only existed in our mind. So there's something Carl Jung calls the collective unconscious that is a code in our mind that we have symbols for things. What he says the dragon is, it's a symbol of chaos. It's the combination of all the things that kills us. It's this alligator, lion, eagle with wings and breathes fire and has talons, and it's the worst thing for a human. It's chaos. It's the unknown. And that's exactly what the dragon represents. So the dragon is never physically in the book. It's in his dreams and it haunts his dreams, but it represents the shadow, the dark side of himself. And that's why we have the shadow of the dragon here on the book. So I thought that was really cool that Allison could incorporate that. It kind of blends, but it sticks out once you see it. It's perfect. It looks great. So that brings us to the back of the book. And we have here the lighthouse. So for those of you who know me, I grew up in Jupiter, Florida. You can read the little bio up here about me. Here's a picture of me. I believe that was at Tiki 52. Shout out to my friend Jen Dunbar who took that picture. But here's the Jupiter Lighthouse. And now Jupiter is not in the book particularly. It's in the distance. Oh, look, there's the Jupiter Lighthouse there too. So Jupiter is not in the book. It would probably be underwater in the book. So because of how the story goes, there's a flood and it's kind of just islands. But they rescue the lighthouse and it's actually in Tiamat. But it's kind of just a tribute to my hometown, but a lot more than that. Lighthouses give guidance. Lighthouses are light. So that's a symbolism of God, that's a symbolism of enlightenment, that's a symbolism of truth. And Jupiter is the sky god, right? So the Jupiter lighthouse, the god of the sky, the light of the sky. And when you're in the chaos of the ocean, the lighthouse guides you home. You see the light. You see the light in the sky. You see Jupiter. You see Zeus. You see Yahweh, God, the sky father, who guides you home. So really cool. I could incorporate the Jupiter lighthouse. This is something I couldn't have done in Photoshop that Allison got to do in there. So yeah, I'm really glad we got that in there. Next, we have the butterfly. So here is the butterfly. A lot of people ask me, I think especially my brother asked me, why is there a butterfly? It makes it look like feminine, especially when you have the pinks and the yellows and everything here. It looks like this cool, adventurous cover here with the sailboat and the ocean and the storm and the sword, and then on the back there's a butterfly in pink. And but the butterfly is a big motif in the story. So you see when he first gets on the sailboat, there's a caterpillar. I think he sees butterflies as he leaves, and they guide him out. But eventually, the caterpillar also transforms along with Michael. As he goes from brainwashed to enlightened, the butterfly goes from caterpillar to cocoon to a beautiful butterfly. So it takes the journey with him. So I had to incorporate the butterfly. There is a story that I probably will tell soon about why butterflies mean so much to me. So I know I said 4 things, but actually here's a little bonus thing. There is the sword in the title. So those are things on the cover and the painting. But let me talk a little bit about the title. So I thought this was really cool. It's a logo. It could be put on a t-shirt or something. You know, it's not just across it in big letters like a lot of modern books have. Me and Allison worked together to make this. She drew that sword, beautiful sword. We tried to make the font look adventurous. It actually speaking of tattoos, actually matches this tattoo, which is Latin for do not be afraid. So we tried to make the font very similar, put a lot of myself into this book. So there it is, the sword, as you'll see in the book, and as when we go into the chapters where Michael gets his sword, represents the sword of truth. It's the sword of logos, the written word, the spoken word, truth, reason, and that is what takes down Tiamat. That is what makes order out of chaos. That is how the hero defeats the shadow, is truth. Now you can see it also looks like a cross because that's the main lesson in this book. Redemption, the cross, resurrection. Can we make a place, a society, a dystopia that totally gets rid of God? Probably. We probably could be so stimulated, so forgotten, so distracted that we just forget about God. But as soon as you're removed for it, as soon as you escape, as soon as you flee that land, it will resurrect. God will resurrect in us. We will have dreams. We will have religious experience. We will be connected with truth. It is engraved in us and it resurrects. And that is the main story. That is what I will talk about for the next video when I talk about the preface. And I explain very shortly. Kind of wish I made it a little longer, but maybe I could do a second one. And that's what these videos are for. Hey. So yeah, the second video will be about the preface and why I wrote the book, what inspired me to write the book, and answer some of those questions. All right, so the first question we have from Jonathan C. He says, how long did it take you to write? Let's see, it probably took me about 8 to 10 months. Yeah, 10 months to write it, but I spent maybe another 6 or 8 months editing it and then getting it ready for publication. And that took longer than I would have liked to. There was a nervousness to it. There was oh, this is realness to it, and deciding if I wanted to independently publish or traditionally publish. Eventually settled on independently publishing through KDP. So yeah, a little less than a year, probably about 1 year and 8 months to get the whole thing done. Good question. The next question comes from Egan. Egan says, when did you start working or coming up with Fleeing Tiamat? So, yeah, I think I started it in February of 2018. So, yeah, a little less than 2 years ago, I first made the outline of it. A lot of people have asked me how I went from an idea to a book. I would like to make a video on that eventually. My advice to that is just do it. Just write. Just put it out there. Work on it every day. Hold yourself accountable to those goals. And before you know it, you're holding your own book, doing a YouTube video about it. So, pretty cool. All right, and the final question comes from Gabby T. And Gabby T just says symbolisms with a question mark. I'm guessing she's asking about the cover and the symbolisms in the cover, which I explained in this video, or she's talking about the symbolism in the book, which it is loaded with. So thanks, Gabby, for the plug for my next few videos. I will talk a lot about symbolism in the book. Pretty much every name means something. Pretty much every, even ways that Michael defeats bad guys means something. The bad guys all represent something. So it's just loaded with symbolism. Like I said, the dragon and the shadow. I really got to use symbolism as an avenue to show my philosophy, to show my beliefs, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I hope people pick up on it. I'm making these videos so we can discuss them and we can learn from them. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk about symbolisms. All right, so I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video on the cover of this beautiful cover of my book, Fleeing Tiamat. Follow Allison on Instagram. I'll put it in the details on the bottom. Comment, like, ask any questions you would like to do. I'm going to have a question and answer video soon. And any other questions you have about the book, put them in the comments. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure those notifications are on so we can talk next time. And I'm Stephen Reep, and this is Stephen Reep's Adventure of Truth, reminding you to be the hero of your own adventure. See you next time, guys.